Hello, my lichens. Welcome to ants-mourning, a newsletter that last month became also a podcast. This issue is titled Performer Bruises. Recording a podcast is, let's say, a new experience for me. I've never been this aware of my neighbors, my cats, other houses' cats, the park party, nor the volume of my sneezing. I may someday share a compilation of takeouts so I'm not the only one laughing. Thank you so much for listening to the first ants-mourning podcast. Clapping! I hope you like the next ones. Here you can listen to this issue. Okay, I said a moment ago park party, and I need to share this translation trivia. It's a bit long and maybe you don't care, so skip ahead and I won't be angry, I promise. In Spanish there's a specific word for this, botellón, which literally means big bottle. But it doesn't have an English equivalent. I found some interesting terms like the Irish bushing and the US tailgating, which okay, nice word, which supposedly originated when people started drinking around cars' tailgates outside football matches. But botellón is specifically drinking alcohol in the street, usually in parks or secluded public spaces, where the police won't find you for drinking alcohol while being underage. When I was under 18, the legal drinking age in Spain, I used to go botelloning, I just made that up, with my friends. A couple of times policemen came to check on us, and I still feel pretty smug remembering they smelled my drink and got angry because it always was just juice or milkshake. Ha! 1. A tiny circle-shaped bruise. This August 16th, the exhibition I took part this summer in is ending. El gran banquete y otros rituales de clausura. Something like the great feast or banquet and other enclosure rituals. This has been the first time I've presented a performance, 2 performances in this case, and have been able to do it more than once. That changed things a bit, but in a good way. I've been able to change whatever didn't work or didn't work properly as I went. And even though the outside eye probably doesn't see much of a difference, those modifications brought the work to a whole new level of effectiveness, punchiness maybe. On the previous issue, I told you about an instance of those necessary tweaks I had to implement. You can read the previous issue if you go to tinyletter.com/Miriam-Navarro-Prieto/archive. Last issue was titled Translating, Performing, Insisting. You can also listen to the first issue, and the following issues, on my anchor.fm/Miriam-Navarro-Prieto, or on my YouTube channel. I don't have 100 followers yet, far from it. So my YouTube channel is called something like KU4X blah blah blah. So just write my name on YouTube and you will find it. Now that I had some time to ruminate on my performing practice and its development, I came to a couple of reflections, starting with this one. that started off as a joke, but in fact is not that much of a joke. In the written version, there's a screenshot here of one of my Instagram stories, and there you can see a thigh, mine, in a very close close-up, with a small circle-shaped bruise. Close to the bruise, a drawing of a pen. There's a text that reads like an imaginary conversation in Spanish and would be something like this in English. An interviewer asks, "What's the most painful thing that has happened to you while performing?" Marina Abramovic answers, "I drew a pentacle on my tummy with a knife." And I answer, "I forgot I had a pen in my pocket, and when I bent down, it stuck into my thigh." For the ones who don't know who Marina Abramovic is, you could say she's one of the most well-known performance artists in history in the entire world. Not all her pieces are this violence-charged. In fact, some are pretty meditative, but some are very intense, like this, Lips of Thomas, in which, as they explain in the website for the Mostra de Valencia, in the website you can read the quote in Spanish, the original. Now I'll just read the English translation I did, personally. In this historic performance, first presented in Austria on 1975, Marina Abramovic carries out a series of actions that force her physical limits to the extreme. She starts by eating a kilo of honey and drinking a liter of wine. Then she breaks the cup, and the actions turn more and more violent and masochistic, until she brings about an iconic image. The artist drawing a 5-pointed star on her stomach with a razor blade. It's not my favorite piece of hers, and maybe some other day I give it a thought and tell you about it. The joke was about the general audience often associating performance art to violent actions in which the artist puts themselves at risk. I'm not saying it's Marina Abramovic's fault, but I guess those are the pieces that stick to popular imagination because, well, they're difficult to forget. And here I am, looking back and realizing I've never did anything really dangerous while performing. But now that I reconsider it, these days I noticed I did in fact threaten to do something painful. 2. It's not me, though I'm not Bo either. In the written version you can find here a GIF from Bob Burnham's comedy special What?, in which he looks intensely into an audience member's eyes. He remains completely still, neutral face expression, and at the bottom these words appear flickering. Prolonged eye contact. Another joke I've been repeating relentlessly, sorry friends, is this one. When I say I do performance art, people think my biggest influence is Marina Abramovic, but it's Bob Burnham. And really, I don't hate her or anything, but she's just far from being my main influence. Bob Burnham is a US comedian my brother recommended me years ago, like so many other things. He showed me that nearly perfect parody of pop love songs. In the written version there's a link here to Bob Burnham's song Repeat Stuff. Amazing. And later we watched his special What? It's available, the whole thing, on YouTube. What resonated so much with me that I decided to replicate one of its gags in an exercise I had to present as proof that I was working on my final thesis. If you didn't know, I studied fine art and I had to do a final thesis, of course. on my last year. It was half done, but oh, did I enjoy myself. I put a chair in front of my classmates, said the infamous, "It's a work in progress, okay?" and proceeded to quote a handful of authors on autobiography, avoiding being pretentious and being it anyway. A quote collage, if you may. And at one point I did Bob Burnham's prolonged eye contact, which consists on being completely still, looking at one single person in the audience, dead in the eye, and repeating at least 3 times the words prolonged eye contact. If you ever read this, Laura, sorry I chose you. I know it was uncomfortable, but you just happened to be in front of me. Sorry. Now that I consider it, at some point I also quoted Neil Hilborn 4 years before signing up for his writing circle and him knowing me by my name. That's actually still awesome and weird and awesome. If you didn't know, Neil Hilborn has a writing circle and I've been attending for almost a year, I think. I highly recommend it. You can find more information on his website neilhilborn.com. I think in that exercise I quoted part of his poem, audiobook How to Ruin Your Life. I don't have a recording of my performance, but I'm pretty sure I said something like this. Hi, thank you for purchasing the audiobook of How to Ruin Your Life for Fun and Profit, as read by the author Neil Hilborn. So you wanna be unhappy? You probably think that you need to be in pain to be an interesting person, and you're right. And then I probably also said this. Step 4. At this point, you might be debating your decision to totally fuck up your life. So ask yourself, would you rather be happy or interesting? Would you rather be on the news or just watching it? Happy people don't make history. Happy people make children and then die. Here is a link, well, in the written version, if you want to watch Neil saying that last line in a very ominous tone, which I try to replicate. You can look in YouTube for the video of Neil Hilborn reciting audiobook How to Ruin Your Life. It has English captions and there's also a video with Spanish captions, if you're curious. In the end, I did some quote collaging for my final thesis, although not with the same quotes. And I closed the presentation by holding up a mirror to the audience. A half-broken mirror, getting closer to them, slowly, making the mirror screech with each step. Well, now I'm thinking I should probably have explained that my final thesis presentation wasn't a typical presentation, PowerPoint and all. It was a performance in itself. The presentation was the piece, the work. You can actually watch a video overview on my YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and look for my channel, or It's Not Me, a performative revision, YAK. There's a screenshot on the written version of the newsletter. At the forefront, there are 3 seated teachers that would rate my work. In the back, I appear dressed in black, holding a mirror in front of my face. The mirror has 2 cuts, resulting in the lower corners being half loose from the rest of the glass. The classroom is dark, except for a spotlight to my right that points directly at me. 3. Reflective and sharp objects. I bought this mirror so I could look at my reflection to paint a series of self-portraits that later I erased with bleach, actually, cut and bound. And the day I finished painting, the mirror fell to the ground. I swear it was an accident. Breaking in 3, although the pieces were still slightly joined. Flash forward, Inside, Bob Burnham's last special, came out this year, written and recorded during the first year of the pandemic, locked inside, alone. And this moment brought me some strange satisfaction. In the written version, here you can find a GIF from Bob Burnham's special Inside, in which he appears sitting in a room light up in green, looking straight to the camera and gesturing with a knife in his hand, while he says the words, "Thank you for watching my content." His kind facial expressions contrast with the presence of the knife in his hand. I'm not saying it's the same, but let me think for a second that Bob Burnham and I have similar things going around in our heads around performing. In El artista como ventrílocuo, la conferencia performativa y las paradojas de la figura autorial, which is a chapter in a book called Llámalo Performance, and the title of the article is something like, well, in English, something like The Artist as Ventriloquist, Performative Lecture and the Paradoxes of the Author's Figure. The author is Patricia Mayayo, and she mentions the faked courtesy that takes place in public spaces when a person talks and the others listen, especially if that's what the audience came for. Playing around with that courtesy seemed like an enticing idea, especially considering the people in the front row were supposed to assess the quality of my work. I crossed that part out on the written version, and instead I added, "grade my work." It's a narrow line. The knife's blade doesn't come anywhere near the audience's nor boss' skin. The mirror is not completely broken, and I never touch the cuts directly, nor I throw it at the audience. But we know, tacitly, we could do it. I'm not going to cut you, but I could. Keep on watching my content. I'm not going to cut you, but I could. Keep on watching my presentation. 4. Clingy loves. Picture description. Personal drawing made with colored pencils on paper. Is based on a picture you can find on the Wikipedia page of Arctium Lapa. In it appears a person in a white squared pattern shirt and dark French pocket trousers. They're holding a burdock leaf in their hands. The leaf is inverted heart-shaped and big enough to cover their face and reach down to their waist. It's not a mirror what the person above carries, but I think you're able to see the connection with the mirror moment on Is Not Me. This makes me think about one of the books that had the most importance in my art making overall, and that's a lot because I did a lot of things in art. I mean, different things. I haven't actually done a lot in quantity maybe, but I'm still young, I guess. This book was recommended by my friend Sylvia, who I also know usually reads me. So hi Sylvia, thank you. In the written version you can find a quote from this book in the original Spanish. Now I'll only read the English translation I did myself. Who knows if the limitations in themselves, the autobiography genre, is holding against itself insofar as history that gets told, are what incite many current artists to take on parody as representation strategy, which is to say, to step away from the facts. If you're interested in autobiography in art, and can read in Spanish, I'm afraid there's not an English translated edition, sorry, I highly recommend it. No soy yo, autobiografía, performance y los nuevos espectadores. In English it would be something like It's Not Me, Autobiography, Performance, and The New Spectators by Estrella de Diego. I found this picture. I based the drawing above on Wikipedia's entry for Arctium lapa, a plant I recently came across and identified with PlantNet. PlantNet, by the way, it's a website and also an app you can install for free on your phone. They don't pay me or anything, I just use it a lot and I like it. So if you have it on your phone and you come across a plant and you want to know more or less what species is, you take a picture, put it on PlantNet, and then the app tells you the possibilities of which plant it could be. Sometimes the app doesn't know, but usually it's pretty good. In the written version, there's a picture of a greater burlock plant with brown but almost purple stalks, green leaves and flowers with purple, pink and white filaments, similar to thistle flowers but less sharp. According to Wikipedia, here I translate a fragment from the Spanish version of the Arctium lapa Wikipedia page, and it says, Arctium, generic name coming from the Greek Arction, name of a plant taken from Arcos, bear, and is mentioned by Dioscorides and probably references the plant's downy and woolly appearance. Lapa, Latin epithet meaning strawberry. It has a lot of vernacular names, so I'll only mention a few. In English, greater burdock, gobo, which comes from the Japanese, and the ones that bring more questions than they answer are beggar's buttons and happy mayor. In Spanish, it's also known as anteón, maybe because of the parasitoids of leafhoppers of the same name. Although the funniest and most unexpected one has to be garbanzos de cura, which translates to priest's chickpeas. I joked you not. That's on the Spanish Wikipedia page. You can look for it. It has some names that I guess come from its birth having a liking for animals' fur. Pegadillo, an untranslatable form of sticky or clingy, with the very distinct diminutive suffix illo, which I love. And now the greatest hits. Amores ruines, mean or callous loves, amor de hortelano, gardener's love, and finally, amores, just loves. To close this issue, and now that I presented No por mis pecados, not for my sins, for the last time, here's an article about the exhibition's closure I read the day I wrote part of this issue, on August 16th. The title in English would be More than 6,000 people visited the exhibition The Great Feast and Other Enclosure Rituals in Las Francesas. That's a lot. I didn't expect that at all. In the future, I'll try to analyze it and tell you more about the experience now that it's over. Here's a link to my coffee page, ko-fi.com/Miriam Navarro Prieto, in case you can and would like to buy me a symbolic coffee, so I can keep on drawing patterned shirts and plants and writing ants-mourning and poetry and maybe a soon-to-be-published article, maybe? Subscribe if you haven't already, please, at tinyletter.com/Miriam-Navarro-Prieto. You can read the whole archive with all the previous issues on tinyletter.com/Miriam-Navarro-Prieto/ archive. When subscribing, don't forget to wait for the email Tiny Letter will send you and click on the confirmation link inside. If you don't do that, you won't be subscribed, so remember that. Okay, see you, I don't know, in a few weeks if I haven't melted by then. Bye!